Hi, this is a follow-up video about the Vent Axia Pure Air Home System. We've had it installed in our house for about 3 months now, and there's been a lot of interest in my first video about the product and a lot of interesting comments. There's also been a lot of interest in how we're getting on with it now, so this video is providing you with a 3-month update. In this video I want to cover how we're finding it as the system as a whole, my overall thoughts on the system, and whether you should or shouldn't purchase this for your home. So the first point is, does it work? Yes, it absolutely does work. We haven't had an issue with mould and we haven't had an issue with condensation in our house. However, the more interesting point and the point of concern, I guess, for me is it an efficient method of removing condensation and mould from your house? Obviously it's good news that we haven't had condensation in our house. That was the purpose of installing it, and so the product is doing what it advertises. However, I guess there's lots of scenarios where you have to balance the effectiveness with the efficiency. It's a bad example, but if you have a bad finger and you go to the doctor and you complain about your ailment to him, and his solution is to cut off your hand, then it would be an effective method of stopping your finger from hurting, but it's not an efficient solution to it. And it's very much how I liken the Vent Axia Pure Air Home System. It has done what it's said it would do. However, there are numerous issues which I'll cover now. The way the system works is that a large fan is placed in your attic, which is connected up via a pipe to a vent that is placed in a central position in your home. Air is drawn in from the attic, which needs to be a vented attic, through a pair of filters and is then blasted into your house. The concept is that the fresh air pushes the damp air out of nooks and crannies in your property. Our system, I elected to buy the heated version, so as the air is pushed out of the fan, it goes through a heating element which should take the edge off the cold air coming into your home. I personally find it very difficult to comprehend the idea that damp air will be effectively pushed out of nooks and crannies. If you have a house which is poorly insulated, then maybe this is a possibility. But if you are suffering from condensation and damp, then the odds are there's a lack of fresh air in your property, and so therefore it's a fairly well insulated property. Also, with energy prices, you want to have a well insulated property so that you aren't wasting money on your heating bills. Some people have said that the air will be drier, so your house will feel warmer as a result. It's an interesting concept, but I think it's such a minute kind of factor that it's not going to really affect the outcome. They've also said that the air is easier to heat. I don't actually agree with that either. Damp air is easier to heat. Again, I feel that it is a bit of a moot point. It is very apparent in our house that the area around the vent, so the stairwell for us and the hallway, is significantly colder now that we've got the air system in place, which isn't really surprising. At the end of the day, all the system is doing is drawing in outside air and blasting it into your house. It's a very simple system. It isn't dehumidifying. It is purely forcing fresh air into your house. I can't honestly say whether our heating bills have gone up as a result or not, but I would be staggered if they haven't gone up. We haven't lived in the property long enough to really gauge how much energy we're using, and we've also made adjustments to the heating system so that we're now heating extra areas, so I can't give you an exact figure on our heating bill as to whether it has or has not gone up. However, on the basis that the air being blasted in is cold, it would be highly probable that our heating bill has increased as a result of it. Nothing comes for free, so if you want to get rid of condensation in your house, then it comes at an expense, and so I recognise that an increase in your heating bill is potentially something that you just have to live with. if you want to get rid of it. If you want to get rid of your condensation damp for free, then in reality it's just not going to happen. Everything comes at a cost. If you ran a dehumidifier, it would cost you an electricity. If you left your windows open, then you're still going to lose heat and you're going to have to pay more for your heating. Without a very scientific experiment, I don't think you could honestly say that it is not increasing your heating bill. The concept of the air being less humid is an interesting one. It's something which a lot of people have spoken about. The concept of the system is that fresh air is being brought into your house, and that air that is being drawn in isn't treated. It is air from the outside. So the humidity of the air being brought into your house is going to be the same as what the outside humidity is. So if you live in a very dry country, then naturally the air is going to be drier that's coming into your house. Where we live, the outside humidity is extremely high. Today I think it was in over 90% humidity. The air that is going through that system isn't treated. It is purely going through a fabric filter and then being pushed straight into your home. The way I've been monitoring the humidity of our home is through our Nest thermostat, and initially it did drop and it almost reached 50% at one point. However, that was during a dry spell, and consequently when it started raining again, the outside humidity started going back up, the inside humidity started going back up. Again, there have been other factors. We have had our log burner running near enough 24/7, so that is going to be drawing moisture out of the air. There are just so many factors. So I think it's something to bear in mind that this unit isn't a dehumidifier. Even if you use a dehumidifier, you are still going to be fighting the outside humidity unless you never open your windows and doors. So if the outside humidity is 70% and you have set your dehumidifier to 50%, the dehumidifier will be working to get it down to 50%, but you are constantly going to be fighting the outside elements. It's almost a futile task. And so you really need to bear this in mind with any inside humidity. One of the comments said that they thought that we had a hole near the vent. This isn't accurate. Our house is very well sealed. It's something which I've made sure of, is to increase the insulation in the property. And yeah, if the vent was right next to an open hole, then it wouldn't work. The idea is to increase the pressure in the property, which again I don't really believe in. Is not the reasons that I think it's effective. I did start taking readings from temperature readings from outside, inside our loft, and from the vent side of the fan, so the air that is coming into our house. Unfortunately, I didn't do it when the weather was really cold. I would have been fascinated to have done that. When the temperatures drop again, I will be monitoring that and I'll add it in the comments. When I did do the test, the readings were always very similar. So when the outside temperature was 10 degrees, the air in our loft was 14 degrees, which would have been through heat loss through the ceilings. The air coming through the vent, bearing in mind that this is the heated element model, was also 14 degrees, which suggests that the heating element is doing naff all. I've checked the settings, and the settings should be heating the air if it is under 18 degrees. So yeah, I'm confused as to why this is. I believe that Vent Axia say that it's not designed to heat the air up to that temperature. It is purely designed to take the edge off it, but it doesn't even appear to be doing that. So we've got 14 degree air being blasted into a home which is trying to be kept at 17.5 degrees, which is a significant difference. The reason I believe that this unit works is because I think it is rotating the air and it's pushing air around the property. I really don't believe that it is pushing moist air out of our property. I think it is purely circulating, so moisture is being moved around the property, but you're not getting stagnant air, which is really what causes mould and what causes health issues. So it is working, but I think that the sales pitch that it's kind of pushing the moist air out is nonsense. I don't believe that's how it works. I think you are literally circulating air and you're bringing fresh air into the property, which is hugely healthy. But I think that it's more of a sales pitch to show these kind of the fresh air being, fresh dry air being pushed in to your property and the stagnant old air being pushed out. I don't think that. I just feel like that is a sales pitch, and really trying to make what is an incredibly simple bit of kit and very simple concept out to be much more clever and more scientific than it really is. One of the things I also did in order to help circulate the air in our property and to bring the warm air upstairs from our wood burning stove is to install a bathroom fan in the end rooms, so our dining room and our upstairs bedroom. This is just creating a circuit for the air to travel around the property and helps hopefully spread some of the heat from the wood burning stove to the upstairs, and that has been quite effective. So with all this said, would I say that the unit is efficient? And the answer is no, I don't believe it is. I think that I don't see that it is any different to really leaving windows open. For the lazy man, it's a unit which you can install and you don't have to think about. And if you're happy with spending more money on your heating, then go for it. It's for £350, it's something that you can install and you don't have to think about. However, if you're interested in buying something that's really efficient or even saving money, then I believe there's other alternative methods. Somebody has mentioned buying a load of dehumidifiers. Personally, I don't agree with it. As I said before, you're always going to be fighting the outside humidity levels. You've got pretty severe running costs with a dehumidifier, and it's very limited area that they cover. You're essentially just circulating the air in the one room that the dehumidifier is placed, and as such it's not an efficient method. At least with Vent Axia, it's a powerful enough unit that it is moving the air around the entire property so that you are shifting the stagnant air. An interesting approach for people that are looking for a cheaper method is a concept which I discovered during COVID. Actually, it was in several articles about the German health ministry suggesting that the public did this in their houses, and it's a bit of a national obsession in Germany. It was around pre-COVID, so it's also to do with venting their homes and dealing with damp issues in their properties. The concept is called impact ventilation. In German it's Stoßlüften. The concept is basically to open windows in your property and to allow the air to naturally vent in and out of your property. You can go from one extreme of just literally opening the windows for 5 minutes, or a set of windows, or the method which I think would be more interesting for somebody dealing with damp issues is to open up all of the windows in your property for 5 minutes, even in winter. You can do it once or twice a day, depending on how bad your mould and condensation is, and then closing all the windows. I think people's concern with this is the increase in your heating bill. It's actually much more efficient to let heat out of your property quickly for 5 minutes, and then to shut all the windows and allow the property to heat up, which it will do very quickly because it would have retained the heat in the walls, than it is to leave a window ajar, which is what most people do when they have a condensation issue. By leaving a window ajar all day, every day, you are actually allowing a lot of air to escape, and you are constantly having to try and heat your property back up to that temperature, to your desired temperature. In Germany, the custom is something of a national obsession, with Germans habitually opening windows twice a day. It's actually so efficient that in some rental clauses it's a binding clause in order to protect the properties from bad smells and mould. The downside of this method is that it requires diligence. You have to remember to do it each day, and it's a bit of a faff because you effectively are spending 10 minutes of your morning and evening going around and opening and closing windows. However, as I said before, everything comes at a cost. For less diligent people such as myself, I think the next solution, and something which I'm going to explore, would be to look at a heat recovery system. Obviously I haven't done this myself, but at least with these systems you are using the damp, stagnant, warm air to heat the fresh incoming air. So you're not wasting energy to quite the same extent. You can install these units at opposite ends of your house, and they will talk to each other in order to not be working against each other, and they'll push and pull so that the air can be circulated through your property, thus changing the air throughout it. So that's my take on the Vent Axia Pure Air system. I hope that it will help some of you make a more informed decision on whether it is going to work for you or not. They are very easy to install, which is great. It has worked for us, but I just feel that there is a more efficient solution out there. If you have experience with a heat recovery system, it would be great to hear what your thoughts are on them, and whether you would also recommend them or not. Also, if you do have a go at the impact ventilation or the Stoßlüften, then it'd be great to hear from you also and see if this method effectively cures mould or not. Thanks very much for listening, and if you've got any questions, please feel free to get in touch.